the way that you measure success really does matter. One way is going to be a never-ending treadmill where you can never get off of it, and unhappiness. Whereas the other way of measuring success is going to breed momentum and happiness. And that's what we're talking about today. Equity Podcast, Coach Barrick here. Giving you the tools to be fit for life. And the tools that we're talking about today is measuring success. One of the reasons we work out the way we do is so that we can measure our success, right? We want to do movements that are repeatable. We want to be using the same standard, the same range of motion, the same points of performance for our workouts so that we can see how we're improving, how our progress is looking. And sometimes we can look at our progress in a non-productive way. And one of the ways that we can kind of put this into a framework is the gain and the gap. And this is based off of a book by Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy. And the gap is what we're going to talk about first. And this is how a lot of people think about their progress, right? So the gap, what we're seeing is, we'll use the gym for example, right? We're trying to get fit. We're trying to do whatever we're doing. We're trying to lose weight. And we have this ideal that we're reaching for. Hey, this is that ideal thing that I'm reaching for. And then we measure to where we're at right now. And we're not there. So just right there, we're not where we want to be. So just right off the bat, you can see how that is going to be very hard on you mentally, right? You're not where you want to be. It's just going to breed unhappiness, right? And then let's say we get to that ideal, that we get to that goal, or we get to that thing. What do you think happens before we get to that thing, or through that journey? That ideal moves. I'll be happy when I lose 30 pounds. I'll be happy when I lose 50 pounds. I'll be happy when. We're always chasing happiness. And happiness isn't something you chase, you just are. We can be happy in any circumstance. Right? Just read Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. Like, perfect example. It's like, oh, Barrick, that doesn't count for me because this, and this. Read that book and then tell me it's not for you. You can be happy in any situation. We want to start from happiness, but I'm digressing. We're talking about measuring success. So when we start, we're at this point, like, man, when I get to 30 pounds, I'll be happy. And then we start getting closer to that, and we move that goalpost again. And we never quite get there. Now it turns into that never-ending treadmill. We're just always out of reach. We start reaching for more. And actually, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but how we measure success needs to be different. We want that ideal. We want a horizon to give us direction, but we need to measure our success in a different way. So that is the gap, when we're measuring against an ideal, where we're not somewhere. So another example would be, hey, I want to build an emergency fund for 1 year. 1 year of expenses, right? And you started from zero, and now you're at $5,000. But you're looking for 1 year. And you're like, I'm so far away. I'm never going to get this, right? You're not happy with where you're at. So, the gap. There's a gap between where you are and where you want to be. What we want to focus on is the gain. So if I take that emergency fund example, I want a year's worth of expenses. I started at zero and now I'm at 5,000. Like, if you look backwards and focus on the gain that you've made, that is impressive. Having no money in your emergency fund and having a $5,000 cushion is enormous. Most people can't pay a $400 expense coming up. So you have made all of that gain. When you look backward, now how does that feel? Like, just think about that. How does that make you feel when you think about that gain? You have that 30 pounds. I want you to lose 30 pounds. You're at 20. You're like, I'm still 10 pounds away, and that 20 was hard. Like, I don't even know how I'm going to get there. I don't know how to do that. Where you can look backwards. Man, I lost 20 pounds. That's a lot more than I've done before, right? In both of those situations, we can see how far we've come. And just think about how that would make you feel. Like, just randomly, like, oh, think about the gains that you've made in the last year. Like, you feel fulfilled, you feel happier. But then when you look ahead into that gap, how do you feel? You feel demoralized, you feel down, you just hunker down, right? Just by that thought experiment, you can see the feeling that it's different, right? And when we start looking backwards, 20 pounds. Yes, that's going to give you momentum. That's going to give you motivation to keep going. I can get another 5. I can keep going, working towards that ideal. So yes, we want to work towards that ideal, but we want to always be measuring backwards. Measure backwards, reach for it. So the idea is like that ideal is a horizon. I mentioned this before. It's a horizon. We're going to use that to give us direction. This is where I'm going. This is where I'm going towards. But can you ever reach the horizon? No. You could do all the work you want. You're never going to reach it because it's just an ideal. It's just out there. It's giving you directional awareness. I'm working towards this thing. And now, I made this goal to hit the river, right? That was really, really far away. I was using the horizon to make sure I was going to the right area, right? Right direction. That's what the point of the ideal is. Now, just like in anything, we're not going to be perfect in this, and that is okay. You cannot expect to always be in the game. And expecting to be always in the game automatically puts you in the gap because you're not going to be able to do that. And now you're not reaching that ideal of always being in the game. So now where does it put you? Back in the gap. So what we want to focus on is being aware. We're not saying it's never not going to happen, but we want to be aware and catch ourselves in that act. Man, I really want those strict pull-ups. I'm just like, it's just so hard and I'm just not getting anywhere. Versus, man, I've been really putting in the work 2 to 3 times a week, and like I couldn't even bend my elbows when I first started. Now I can get like halfway. Like, that's huge progress. Huge. It takes time. So what we want to do is we want to be aware of where we're at, and if we get into that gap, that's okay. We want to switch, be intentional in getting back into that game, measuring how far we've come. Obviously, highly recommend this book, The Gap and the Gain. It's relatively short. You can listen to it, read it, whatever. Dan Sullivan, Ben Hardy. It's mainly for like business owners, but I think this concept is really, really wonderful and works for everybody, for anybody. I think it's really a must read. It's really, really great. Measure backwards, but we still want that ideal to work towards. But we don't measure ourselves against that. We always measure backwards. I really hope this helped. If you have any thoughts or what you think about this concept, let me know. I'd love to hear about it. I just finished this book and love to talk with some people about it. So if you're interested, let me know. And I hope this is just another tool in that toolbox to help you be fit for life, to help expand your health span, to live your life to the fullest, to how you want to live your life. If you think this might help somebody, share it with them. I would really appreciate that. And as always, I really, really appreciate you taking time out of your day and working towards better. Thank you so much. Cheers.